What is up? I see you guys in the chat already. How you doing? David and Pac-Man, good to see you. David, I'll get to your question in just a second. But if you're new to crypto or relatively new, or you just don't spend as much time as I do in crypto, this is going to be a perfect episode for you. I got a really smart business owner who's I've been friends with for a while, and he's going to come in here and ask questions to just learn. He's already in crypto like a little bit, but just wants to understand more about what's going on in crypto. So we're going to bring him on. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some hacks. We're going to talk about Hedron and Icosa. Maybe we'll even get into some liquidity providing and how you can earn fees for liquidity providing. Maybe we'll get into a little ETH and maybe a little ETHW to see what's actually going on. So before we do that, let me just say hi to the chat real quick. David, Sam, once an LP range is set up on 2 tokens on Uniswap V3, can this be changed, or do you have to remove liquidity and start again? If you have to adjust your range, you need to take the whole position off to reset the range. Hopefully that's helpful, David. If it's not, just ask me more questions. Pac-Man, great to see you. Freedom, how you doing? My favorite subject is LP. I'm going to see if my buddy Brian is interested in learning about LP because I love LP as well. Mr. Pulsikin, what's Gucci? Hey, Stolt, my man, what's up? K555 and Cypher Lock, how you doing? So without further ado, we're going to bring in my buddy Brian. There he is.
What's
up, how's it going, dude? Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Hey, so we've known each other for a couple of years at this point, like peripherally on the side, and I've been in crypto just like I think how you were, because we're in the fringe of some of the other things that we do, and you have to use crypto to accept payments or crypto to pay things. Can you tell me, because I've never asked you this question before too, but also for other people, how did you get into like where you're at right now, where you're like, hey, Sam, let's fucking talk about crypto?
So it goes back quite a ways, all the way to where Bitcoin first hit the media, just barely. And my dad's an electrical engineer, and so he kind of caught wind of it before pretty much anybody else knew about Bitcoin. And he's like, hey, I think we should throw some money in this. I think it's got some potential, this new kind of cryptocurrency. And he tried to explain it to me. And I think I was, 19 at the time or something like that. And I was getting ready to go to Iraq. And so I was like, there's no point in me putting money in there because I'm probably not coming home. So I kind of just blew it off. I was like, it's probably just another scam. And at that point, you had to build your own computer in order to even access it at all. And so my dad was working on that. And I think it was $4 for a coin at that point in time. So I missed that, obviously. But getting into it more recently, there are, products I want to buy online where they use cryptocurrency as a primary form of payment. And it started to become more and more obvious to me that this is a trend that's picking up, not just, with maybe buying supplements online, but other industries are starting to pick it up as a more secure payment method. It's very fast. It's protected, it's safe. And so that got me pretty curious. And then Sam, of course, as we talk all the time, has been, dude, you got to get into this. And so finally I was like, okay, I'll start checking it out.
Okay. So you had texted me, I think yesterday or the other day, and you had said that you had just bought some hacks. By the way, when you get your Twitter back up, you should do this. And the people who are in the chat, but also a lot of other people on Twitter, go onto Twitter. That text you sent me, you're like, I just bought X amount of hacks, because nobody can actually see your transactions, right? So, or associate it with your wallet. And go on there, hey, I just bought this much hex and I staked out into the future, and then put like hashtag hexagons or hashtag hex, and you'll get a boatload of people who will like it and follow you, because the community in hex is extremely supportive. Extremely supportive.
It's good to know.
So you just bought some hex, right?
Yeah. So that was a learning process. And I know you walked me through it a couple of times, and I wound up spending a couple of days online just digging through everything, because that's what I like to do, is research. And so I tried to learn it from as many different angles as possible. I watched, 3 or 4 different YouTubers and read a bunch of articles on it and stuff like that, and really got to where I felt comfortable with purchasing the hex and the different wallets and all that kind of stuff. And for me, I have to feel like I understand something before I'm comfortable playing with it at all. and I still have a lot to learn, obviously. But yeah, so I got some Hex. So I own some Hex. I staked some Hex, and then I also got myself some Hedron.
You actually the Hedron first, right?
I did the Hedron first. Yeah, you were telling me about that, and I got in at a really good time, and it's making a pretty good run right now. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yes, I think that we're still going to see some positive movement on Hedron. If you want, I don't know if I've showed you this, but I'm gonna pull something up, and then I want to hear your questions or just thoughts, or I'm happy. I want to help in any way, like anything that you're not like sure about. But let me show you some data around what's going on with Hedron. Do you know what a block explorer is, or do you know what Etherscan is?
I know we've talked about it in brief, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
It's the so your blockchain, right? And then Etherscan is like tells you the information about the coins on there or transactions related to it and all the parties involved in. So if you sent me money, it would show your address, my address. It would show like the transaction number. Effectively, it's called a hash, and it says like if Brian sent Sam X amount of whatever token it was, and then it's in my address, and tells you how much gas is, which is like how much it costs to do a transaction on a network. Well, on there, you get to also see, if you look at tokens, how many holders there are of a token, right? So how I'm thinking about it is if you see a token and you see the number of holders in that token increasing, right? That's a good thing. That's a positive thing. That's what drives prices up, right? Well, so I've been tracking this since the 28th of August. This is the number of holders in Hedron and the number of holders in Hex. And then I just hid some data in here, but it's effectively since then. So as of today, you get to see Hedron went from 21,000 to 23,000 roughly. Hex during the same time period went from 309 to 310, right? Mm-hmm. So they're both growing, but Hedron is growing at 25x the rate in terms of holders versus Hex. Pretty crazy numbers.
Yeah, and I think you were explaining to me, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago how Hedron is going to be essential when people are wanting to cash out their staked Hex. Explain how that works a little more?
So do you remember when we talked about Icosa?
Not really. I don't know if we actually did talk about Icosa.
So we that's where how like it ties back into the Hedron piece of it. But first, let's start with Hex because that's where everything's based off of. What on Hex, and then we can work our way down to that. On Hex, did you have any questions or thoughts about that while you were going through that?
No, I didn't. One thing I want to throw out there though is I like what's going on with Hex. It seems like it's got the most viability from what I've seen in cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is like, okay, cool, Bitcoins exist, but there's no real network of people trying to develop something to buy and sell on a regular basis with Bitcoin, it seems, right? Like you can go online and buy certain things with it, and it's pretty much that's it. You buy it to hold it. And so I like where Hex is going with that. And it seems like probably the best thing available right now as far as the cryptocurrency goes. So
did you I remember you said that you were watching some YouTube videos on that. So like understanding staking and like there's an end stake after you're done, you end stake your shit. Like, did you have any questions about that process, or you like feel pretty good about it?
I feel good about that part as far as the staking it and holding it and stuff goes. I like how you can actually stake, sort of for maybe 5 days, whatever, and then you get a return on a fixed number of Hex at the end of that stake. So in the end you're going to own more Hex regardless of what the dollar value is. At least that your number of Hex is increased. And nobody can guarantee a dollar return on that, but the fact that you're getting more Hex, you would think that the price is going to go up between now and then.
Yeah, right. Okay. So the issue, it's not really a big issue, but like one of the issues with the go.hex.com, which is like the native or like the original like thing there to stake Hex, is that if I use a address that to stake with, and then somehow I compromise that address, I can't move the stake off of my address, right? And a lot of the times when people get into crypto, they don't understand the security thing. So if somebody has a hex stake and during a bull market, like you could, as over this next, whenever we hit a bull market again, maybe, next 6 months, maybe by the end of next year, whenever that fucking happens, you could easily have a 10 to 100x return, right? So during those times, if somebody put in $10,000 and they have a 10x, now they've got 100 grand. And somebody who has 10,000 and now has 100 grand, 100 grand feels like a lot of money to somebody who has 10 grand. And then the same thing, if somebody has 100 grand and they add another zero to that, right now you got $1 million. And so that's tied to that one wallet where they may have had poor security when they set things up and you couldn't transfer it out of that wallet. So that's where like Hedron comes in. So there was a developer who was in Hex at the beginning, and then he developed this thing called Hedron. And this allows you to take your Hex and you can stake it through that front end. And also it has two functions, but it also has its own token, right? So the two functions are, one, you could take, now you have an encapsulated stake, and you could take that and you could sell that on something called OpenSea. And if something doesn't make sense or you have questions about anything, just interrupt me. So you could convert it to an NFT. NFTs you can move around, right? So that solves that issue, right? So you can convert it to an NFT. I could send it to a different wallet. And then I could also sell it, which means that like if I have a Hex stake and I have 100x return and my $10,000 turns into $1 million, then maybe I want to access some of that, right? But Hex stake through the native platform at go.hex.com, I can't do that. I can't touch that shit, at least until 50% of the way through, because then you just get wrecked on fees, right? So the Hedron is able to actually solve this. And it's the same thing. It's completely decentralized. Like there's no fucking grimy person touching my shit. Like I don't want any of that stuff in there. And anybody who has a Hex stake, in those videos, they talked about T shares, right?
Yeah.
So there's T, just stands for a trillionth of a share or whatever. Well, then the B share is a billionth of a share of the pool of staking. So you get the rewards, right? You know how Hex, all the inflation goes to like the people who staked.
Right.
And then that pool is divided up into trillionths, right? And then if you take a trillionth, then that's 1,000 billionths, effectively, because it's 1,000x that. So every billionth of the pie you have, you get one Hedron per day. So your Hex stake that you did the other day, actually you're earning Hedron.
Yeah.
And did you go through and claim that?
I didn't claim that yet, no. So I was going to do that with you at another time. But yeah, you talked to me in brief about that the other day.
And you don't need to do like it probably doesn't even make sense to pay the gas on it at this point, because gas is going to be $1, and the amount of Hedron you're going to get is going to be like microscopic, just because it's 5 zeros and a 4 or something like that. So it's just not a ton of money at this moment in time. But it's also like when I put in when I started, I claimed my Hedron and the fees were like $18 at the time. I just paid it just so I could see what it was like. So if you're thinking that like it's going to be a big monetary amount, like fucking forget that at this moment, right? But in the act of doing it, you learn. So like if you're like, how we do invest into certain things so that we can learn through these things, I went through and just claimed my shit so that I could see my Hedron and go through that process. But if you want to do that, obviously it's great for learning, but it's not going to be like any terrible great amount of value there yet. But let's go into the other function of Hedron. You can go through and you can borrow, right? So how does that work? Well, if you have a Hex stake for 100 days and you own 2, or let's say 1 B share, right? 1 B share means you get 1 Hedron per day, right?
Correct. For
100 days or 100 Hedron. So when you do the Hedron.pro front end, which is it just takes your Hex stake and it encapsulates it in another smart contract that allows it to do these other functions, that you're able to go through and borrow that 100 Hedron when you do it, right? So like it's 100 days into the future, you can borrow 100 today, which you're like, okay, well, 100 Hedron, not much when you got a billion, right?
Right.
But it can also be, maybe you have 10,000 B shares, right? And maybe you have a 5,000 day stake, right? It can be bigger, right? So and then this kind of ties right into Icosa, which is what you were talking about for the demand of Hedron and that going up, is that initially when this came out in March or February for Hedron, there was no what's the reason to hold Hedron other than okay, maybe if somebody sells their shit, right, or somebody borrows against it and doesn't pay their bill, right? So I borrow my 100 and then I don't pay this back, then my hex stake goes up for auction. Mm-hmm. Okay, but what happens is I have say $100 hex stake. I could borrow 27 cents against that, or 53 cents. So you're like, why the fuck would anybody do that? There was no right.
Yeah.
And that's where Icosa came from. So Icosa fixed that problem because it's immutable code. So you can't go back and change the code. You can't be like, okay, I maybe would have designed this slightly differently because the code is just finished. It's all done. Like nobody can touch it. But that's the benefit to not having anybody touch our shit.
Right.
So Icosa was created, and Icosa is programmed just like the other ones, but there's no people involved. It's all just code. So now you can take your stake, your hex stake that you did through Hedron, it's called an HSI, and you sell that to this contract. This contract mints you Icosa. So Icosa is selling for about $1, and there's a certain ratio of how much you get. So instead of getting 27 cents on a $100 stake, now maybe it's $80. Right? Or $87 or $93, right? It's not like at par, but it's better than 20 cents that you would have gotten. And so go ahead.
So in other words, you still have that hex is still staked. You've just put the contract into somebody else's name and got Icosa in return. So you're relieved of that stake. Basically, it's not going back to you at the end.
It's gone.
Yeah,
it's 100%. But now, what does this contract? What does the Icosa contract do with it? It takes your stake that you sold to us. Now it's from Brian's title. Now Sam has title of this thing. I'm going to borrow that 100 Hedron, and I'm going to give that to people who stake in the Icosa pools, which we can get into in a minute. But then, what happens with that HSI, which is your hex stake? It was yours. Now this contract's not going to pay it back, right? It just borrowed it. So what that means in 90 days, this stake goes up for auction. And that's where Hedron comes in. And that's why Hedron is growing at 25x the growth of Hex.
And you were talking about a spike in November when those contracts start coming due.
Yep. So I think that, let me see what Cypher has. Hedron is decentralized line of credit for Hex stakes and allows stakes to be transferred beautiful innovation. I agree. Getting rich is a side effect of claiming your sovereignty, right? Like having control over your shit.
And that's one thing that crypto really excites me about crypto, I should say, is because we see what's going on with, the federal government and the value of the US dollar and all that stuff going on. And there's always been stipulation that the dollar is going to crash. And, as far as a fiat currency goes, the US dollar is way overdue to be replaced, right? So in theory, if everybody on the globe was to transition to cryptocurrencies like Hex or Bitcoin or a combination of things, then when the governments collapse financially, the citizens would still financially be okay because we'd already have commerce worked out in between ourselves. So in my opinion, the benefit really is in us saving our own asses by working with each other instead of relying on our governments.
And it solves so many middlemen issues. Like the person, right, in your life that in the past, you don't have a relationship with them anymore because they never followed through with what they said they were going to do. Right. It solves that issue. That's the third party thing. Like if somebody's like, yeah, I'll do that thing for you. And then they never do it for me, or whatever the case is. Hey, the contractor says they're going to show up at this time. They don't fucking show up at this time. It's all code, right? It's just going to follow whatever's in the code to get done. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you used Uniswap to get Hex, correct?
Yeah. So I had Ethereum in Coinbase, and then I used Uniswap to switch that over to Hex, which I transferred into MetaMask.
Did you get a Treasure or a Ledger yet or not?
What would that look like?
So this would be a Ledger, which it's just like a USB thing. We should probably talk about this because these things are very important from a security standpoint. Flippin asks, question: I can't see my Icosa on the ETH or ETH in my MetaMask wallet. Anyone else using the same contract address for the token and not seeing their Icosa balances? So if you have Icosa that's staked, it's not going to show up in your MetaMask on ETH or W. It will show up in the Icosa protocol. So you could go to the Icosa protocol and you should see it there if it was staked. If it's you have to add it to your MetaMask like import token. So that should be helpful. If you still can't figure that out, go into the Telegram group, the t.me/hexpow, POW, hex POW in Telegram, and there's like 1,000 people in there that are super fucking helpful answering questions. So I would jump into there. Super helpful. Okay.
Sam, do you have a list somewhere where people can go and find all these helpful links like what you just named off?
Not yet, but it would probably be a good idea.
Yeah. So and you're coming out with like a mentoring coaching program on this, right? Where you can actually sit down one-on-one with somebody and talk them through the process and help them actually move. Like for me, I have to see something to actually understand it. And that's why watching other YouTubers helped a lot, is because I could watch them walking through it dummy style. And that's what really helped it to click in my mind, right? So having the ability to hire you to walk me through this is extremely beneficial in my opinion.
Yes. So if anybody is interested, you guys could check out that link right there, or on my Instagram profile or on my Twitter profile. If you're curious or want to do that, I put out a lot of shit for free too. But if you want more like the one-on-one stuff, you can check it out, and it is there. Thanks for laying that up for me to give a little show there. Appreciate that.
Well, that was really helpful for me. Like the times you and I sat down and screen shared, it's like, that was really beneficial.
Good. I'm glad it was. Okay. So this thing is like this, or a Treasure is the next thing that I would get taken care of, because this thing is for security. Okay. So this is called a hardware wallet. So instead of MetaMask being a software wallet, this is a hardware wallet, and I can have this disconnected from the computer, and there's no way anybody can touch my shit.
Okay.
So this is going to be basically a store for your seed words. So it's treasure.io. I would not buy from Amazon or eBay because they can put firmware or malware on your on the device, right? Buy it from the company. It's like about $70. And it's pretty easy to set up. You get software for your computer to set it up, and like it's all free once you get the actual device. You'll get 24 words, and that's how you're going to access your crypto. If you decide to go to Indonesia or anywhere else in the world, if you have those 24 words, you have access to your money. Even if like I tried to bring $10,000 on vacation with my girlfriend and I, they're going to be like, hey, what the fuck are you doing, bro? And they're going to try to give me a hard time at the airport, right? Well, but with crypto, you can just bring millions of dollars across the border because all you need is your 24 words.
Right. Tax free, right?
So I would definitely get one of these, and then I would use these for like the vast majority of your crypto holdings.
Okay.
Because it's just going to be safer, even though it's like $70 to do it, maybe $80 with tax or something. But like, it's once those numbers have a 10 or 100 or 1,000x, which happens often. Like you saw Hedron, right? You got into Hedron right before the prices started to really ramp up, I think. Yeah. Right. And that was 3 fucking months ago.
Yeah. I've already more than doubled what I put into it.
Right. And this is, and this happens all the time. And this is what, in a bear market, the rest of the stock market is down and you just had a double. right? Now think about the speed at which that happened. Say it was 3 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now, and we still have like until mid-November, and I would personally hold it longer than that, but like if you wanted to, but you have more than a double in 3 months. Now think about the speed that's going to take place in a bull market.
Yeah,
if that happened in a fucking bear market, you had a double in 3 months. In a bull market, it happens so fast. And you don't want your shit compromised if it's not taken care of. Like if you're putting thousands of dollars in there per month, and then you start seeing doubles and triples and 10x's over time, like you don't want your shit to, okay, it's only 10 grand, right? You're like, lose 10 grand, like it sucks balls, but I'll be fine, right? But
right.
if you, once that's 100 grand or 200 grand or 700 grand or a million, right? It starts becoming like, oh shit, did I take care of all the precautionary steps I needed to cover myself?
Yeah, get a safe and bolt it to the floor in your garage and put that in there.
yes. And
so it doesn't end up in a landfill, right?
and also, so your 24 words. I can show you this on Amazon, but
yeah,
Amazon,
you had like a little punch key card thing for that, didn't you?
Yeah. So let's just see, metal plate crypto. I've got a couple of these for different wallets. Let me share this. These types of things, right? So like this one right here, it is $25, but you can put down your 24 words on there. And that way, right, you said in your garage, but like what if your garage gets moldy or wet or there's a fire and your shit burns down and you had 600 grand on there? You're fucked, right? Because you need the words to be able to access your money.
Right.
So like, even if it's getting that set up there, and there's lots of different like cool, like you could do a plate like this. There's also, other ones that people do, like something like this, where it's like a stamp instead of an etching, right? They have the different letters here and you can type out the words with like a little mallet and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They have like cylindrical, like tube type things you can use to do it with. There's, a couple different ways you can do it, but I would highly recommend, especially as you put more money into there, to get something like one of these so you can keep it safe and feel more comfortable about having your crypto. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. There's some, I was going to mention that also. I'm a little jumbled up in the head. I'm thinking about 30 different things right now, but, everything crypto wise and stock market wise crashes. And we just saw a big reset in the prices of crypto, right? So it's at a pretty low point right now. But like with Hedron, I just doubled my money in the last month or whatever. And the stock market has been losing money just constantly. So we're seeing an independence, obviously, from the stock market, right?
You got to really pay attention to know where those things are coming, because Hex has been flat for the past month.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. But go ahead with the rest of your point. Sorry about that.
Oh, I was just going to say, so that already to me shows that people are starting to develop an independence from the government, and thankfully I pulled everything out of the stock market before this crash happened because I knew it was coming. So I pulled it out about a month ahead. But yeah, people are just losing their asses right now with their retirement funds and everything else. And not that cryptocurrency is not that every cryptocurrency is always going to work out in everybody's favor, right? There's always going to be reset points or ones that don't work out.
Scams.
Right. But as long as you're somewhat diversified into smart stuff, maybe some into Hex, some into Bitcoin, some, Ethereum, whatever, then you're going to be pretty safe, especially right now. You're not going to be losing 30% over the next 6 months.
Yes.
Not likely.
Yeah. But remember, crypto is extremely volatile, right? Mm-hmm. Like you've probably seen a little bit if you looked at the Hedron price at all, right? It's fucking all over the place. In like, say in a month in the stock market, if you have a 2 or 3%, volatility, like a price up and down, say 5% in a month, in crypto, that could be 30% or 40% up from peak to trough.
Right.
So it can be very, very volatile, but so this is more just on the macro level thing. And then I want to get into a couple of these comments here. Crypto.com is a website they have a lot more data than I do. And they do like a state of the nation for crypto. And according to their estimates, I read the report back in January. There's about 3.5% of the world in crypto. right? So if you take 8 billion people times 3% or 3.5%, you get around 300 million people, right? And a lot of the stuff that like I'm telling you about, a lot of the 300 million people are fucking clueless about, even though they're in crypto, right? Like I was in crypto, you were in crypto, as in like we took payments or we made payments for shit because of some of the things that, right? So this is that 3%. Now, when you put this into perspective around any technology, whether it's airplanes, microwaves, television, cell phones, cars, you name it, everything follows an adoption curve, which means it starts out super fucking slow and then shoots up and goes to the right. Actually, let me see if I can pull up a chart. Adoption.
While you're looking that up, I mean, we just had what was like an average 90% drop in all cryptocurrencies. So you're at a bottom in the cryptocurrencies right now, and you're at the bottom of that parabolic phase of people picking up on this technology, right? So,
very good point. But so here's another thing too, that at least it makes sense to remember that in crypto, shit can go down like a lot. It could theoretically go down another 50%, right? Mm-hmm. Theoretically, where the probability of that happening in the stock market is possible, but very, very, very improbable. Where the probability of that happening in crypto is at least positive. It's at least positive, and I would say, 10%, 20%, because crazy shit happens, and because it's so volatile, it can go like really, really crazy here and there. But in the space of like the adoption curve piece of it, check this out. So this is, let's go down here. This is telephone, TV. As you get to see, they start out slow, and this is starting in like the mid 10% range, right? And you get to see they kind of like all follow the same trajectory where it's like, here's this blue one, right? This is air travel. It starts out really slow and then ramps up very quickly, right? Well, one of the things that's been noted, if you look at this chart, is that see how these are like start slow and they ramp up quickly, but it's over a longer period of time versus these ones here are just basically straight vertical.
Right.
Well, they've noticed that the ramp up in crypto or the ramp up in adoption curve accelerates or has been accelerating for the last like century. I mean, like, kerosene lamps was like an innovation right back in the day, right? Or like the switch to electricity, that was a fucking massive innovation and things like that. Crypto's at 3.5% right before is about to fucking explode. It's going to be, whether it's at the end of this year, I predict it should be around 7%. And we'll see what, crypto.com says. But if you just figure this is like going to be a continuing doubling by like 2027, half the world is going to be in crypto. Okay. So you're like, okay, Sam's way the fuck off. Okay. Put me at 37, right? 2037. That's still a really short period of time. We're massively short. Like there's going to be so many people that are coming and right where the prices are right now, next bull run, we'll never see these prices again.
No. I mean, if you got a quarter of the Earth's population on there in the next 50 years, it's still way outperform the stock market.
Yeah, because they're just going to drive up prices for us.
Right. I was watching an analytic guy on Robert Kiyosaki's show talking about the stock market and how I guess this guy's career has been basically mapping the progress of the stock market in relation to generations, right? And how they're building their wealth and stuff like that. And he's basically saying his projection for the U.S. stock market going forward is that over the next, I think it was 40 years, it's basically going to be almost a flat line. I think he said about a 5% growth in the stock market over the next 40 years as it recovers from this crash that he's predicting is starting now and going to continue.
And if like you're seeing this, right? So I don't know how much you're investing into the stock market on a monthly basis, or you were, or you in the past and you hadn't been and you've just been stockpiling cash. But I predict that you over the next 6 to 12 months will probably make the decision for yourself to not put money into the stock market again and to put all that money into crypto. Yeah. I closed my 401k. I closed my IRA. All my shit's in fucking crypto. Because this is the future. Like this is literally what's happening. All right. It's not always this like, You know what I mean? People tell you to diversify and this other kind of stuff. I want to be able to make more money relative to other people because that's what purchasing power is, right? It's the dollar is, it's not that everything is going up in price. It's that the dollar is going down in value, right? You can say the same thing in reverse, right? The dollar is what's going down. That's why, you know, the Snickers bar used to be 25 cents. Now it's $2.99 or whatever the case is, right?
Right.
The same thing fucking happens.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say hi to the chat real quick and see what's up. Oh, I don't know if you've seen this dude's videos. K for K. I don't watch a lot of other people's YouTube videos, but I know that K for K is like a very popular. He's in the Hex community, and he provides like very good videos from what I'm told. I think I've only watched like one of his videos, but I know, hey guys, whoever's watching, leave some other sources here so we can share them with Brian and anybody who watches these video in the future. What are some other YouTube channels that you guys watch for information that you find valuable? Leave them in the chat here so I can share them with Brian and whoever watches this in the future. Seems like a valuable information. Thanks. Kung Fu Tech. That's why I woke up to crypto and go to sleep when I sleep to crypto education, topping accounts. Yes. Like crypto, there's so much to learn in crypto. It's freaking awesome. Hex softball afternoon and modern simplicity. What's up? Like your name? Yes. Okay. Wales Oni is somebody that a lot of people enjoy listening to. I don't really pay attention to his stuff either. I don't really pay attention to a lot of people's stuff. I kind of just do my own thing, but I know a lot of people enjoy his content. And he's also all like that K for K guy and the Wales guy. Those are both, they're both on Twitter too. So when like, if there's like a hierarchy of like information in the crypto space. So it generally is going to start in a Telegram group where it's like you, me, and we're doing a crypto project or we're doing an update to a crypto project. Oh, here's another guy, Crypto Coffee. I don't know if you've seen him. I appreciate you guys sharing the names. If you have any other ones, share them, or people on Twitter that you follow for information on Twitter. But a lot of times it starts in a Telegram group, like you, me, and 6 other guys, and we're just kind of like brainstorming. It's kind of like a group chat, but you can do like a video Zoom type of call within the group chat, and it can just be ongoing. It's not like cumbersome or like links to share and all that kind of shit. Well, there is. We'll start there. Then it will migrate to Twitter, right? And then it will go to YouTube. So like, I would highly recommend getting on Telegram and I can share some groups with you that I'm in on Telegram. Although I kind of really do my own fucking shit. So I don't spend a ton of time in the groups, but if I ever have a question, there's a shitload of awesomely smart people in these groups that are like happy to share, and you can see what they're talking about and just read. And if you're not like, hey, what's going on? You can just go in there and read or ask questions and stuff like that. Let's see who else. Just have your own ideas about staking, all things for that. So the staking ladders are something that a lot of people talk about. And did you have any thoughts on that?
It was interesting. I watched a couple of videos on it. I like the idea behind it, but I didn't really focus on that too much.
Oh, here's a couple more. Maddie Allen.
Thank you guys for this.
Maddie Allen, and Hexologist I've talked to, and Maddie I've talked to, and Crypto Talkie I've talked to all these dudes, every single one of them I think that they've talked about, except for K for K. I think I just chatted with him over text or something. DCC is another channel that people like watch. What's the full name for DCC? It's like, I think it might be Dollar Cost Crypto, I think is what his thing is. Hollow Dog is another guy who does a lot of good content in the community.
I've been watching him.
Maximum Broadcast might be one. Never heard of that one before. Discourse Syndicate is another one. Also, this is a great tip here. Modern Simplicity. Thank you. Watch some Richard Hart videos, but go to like older videos because you're just going to hear a lot of repeat shit. But like,
I noticed that.
yeah. Dude loves talking about himself, which is perfectly fine. Everybody does.
I think that he made a good point in one of the videos I watched, and at first it really turned me off how much he talks about himself. But then he made a point where nobody was paying attention to him until he started doing outrageous stuff, like spending money on Rolexes and diamonds and things like that. Like those things went viral, whereas nobody was paying attention to his crypto stuff.
And he's doing that a lot now, and I think he believes it's working out well. It's just sometimes it just gets old seeing the same shit over and over again. Steven says there are very few informational videos. You have to take. This is a perfect comment and exactly how I think about things. You have to take small nuggets from hundreds of videos. The information you provided on V3 was unreal. Oh, we should talk about Uniswap. Hey, by the way, Steven, thank you for watching that. I did a really deep dive on V3. So people in this community like to use, well, I like to use V3 and a lot of people use V3, which is like the Uniswap front end that I showed you. There's V2, but most of crypto uses V2, except for people in this community. V2 is like we're in a forest and we're on in our cars, right? There's no moon now. It's cloudy. There's no street lights, and you don't have any headlights. And you have a windy road to go on. How fast can you drive on that road?
Not very fast.
Yeah, at all. Like it's fucking slow as shit, right? Because you can't. So okay, V3, because you can do single-sided liquidity, because you can do these things called range orders, which you can't do on V2. Effectively for V2, I put up 50% and 50%. You know how I was trying to, I showed you on Uniswap how you could put in like 75% of Hex and 25% ETH or something like that. I don't know if I showed you that or if you remember.
I think you touched on it briefly.
So that's Uniswap V3. On V2, you put up 50% and 50%. So if you want to do token A and B, you put up 50% and 50%. But now what that's done is it's spread your liquidity over all the possibilities of future prices. Meaning your shit is, it would be like taking a tablespoon of butter for your toast, right? You know how they give you that at the restaurant? They're like a little scoop of butter, or you open up the little thing to put on your toast. And you would have to use that tiny little bit of butter to spread across like entire loaf of bread, right? Your butter fucking runs out. You don't have much butter on any piece of bread. That's like what V2 is like. V3 allows you to put as much butter as you want on one piece or even one bite of bread. You can eat that whole piece of butter in one bite. And what that represents is the fees you earn. So you can earn massively higher fees with V3 than you can on V2. And the other thing is, it gives you an insight into the market so that same scenario, it's cloudy out. There's no street lights. There's no headlights, right? In that scenario, V3 has headlights. And the reason is because if you look up, Dex Screener is a very good tool that I use all the time. Actually, I'll pull this up right now so you get to see what it's like and how to like kind of navigate around it a little bit. So Dex Screener here is this tool here. It's dexscreener.com. dexscreener.com. Okay, so we're going to pull up Ethereum, and then we're going to pull up Uniswap. It's the most used DEX, right? So we're going to come here, and we're going to look for Hex. Hex is the number 40th in terms of transaction volume today, right? But it does vary. Now, this is what one of the things I like to do. I see that the liquidity is 1.1 million here. I come down here, it's pooled with wrapped ETH, right? So this is you get to see the network here is Ethereum. It's on Uniswap. The pair is on V3, and it's Hex and wrapped Ethereum. This is the pair, right? And there's a total of 1.1 million of liquidity. That means of coins of Hex and of coins of Ethereum. That the total combined value of those is 1.1 million, which obviously is going to fluctuate as the market fluctuates. But what I want to understand, and you cannot see with V2, is how much of that is each pair. So if you look over here on the side, it tells you, and literally what I'm telling you, and like everybody who's listening, 97%, literally not even trying to be like a hyperbole and like exaggerate this even slightly. 97% of people, even smart people in this fucking community, have any fucking clue what I'm talking about. They don't even understand what I'm talking about. So this is 461,000 of this pool is Ethereum, right? So what does that mean, right? If you think about it, 41% of the pool of tokens is Ethereum and 59% is Hex. So what does that tell you? If you understand how a market works, in an efficient market over a long enough period of time, you're always going to have 50% and 50% on either side of the market. Like, it's just common sense, right? Well, what happens when you look at something like that? That means more people are trying to sell their Hex than buy their Hex, because it's not sitting in the center. It's lopsided, right? So I like to look at that number. Now let's pull up another one that's super interesting. I don't know if it's any different than it was the other day, but let's take a look at Hedron. Hedron actually has more trading volume than Hex, because they're at 38 and Hex is at 40, right? Actually, I think Hex just went up to 39. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's look at this, because this has a different, like if you take this and you put it out into a distribution, you could see that this would be like a histogram, where we could pull that up in a second if we have time. But this is the pair for Hedron and Wrapped ETH on V3. There's $200,000 worth of liquidity. So not as much liquidity, but what portion of the pool is ETH, right? So if you look at this, there's 145,000 of a total of 203,000. What does that mean? That means there's 71% of all the liquidity in this pool is Ethereum, meaning people are buying up Hedron, right? And what do we know about ratios? They're going in an efficient market, they're always going to go back to 50-50. So if you have 71% of this is Ethereum and 29% of this is Hedron, that means out of the $200,000 worth of value there, you have 71%, over 2/3 of all that value is with Ethereum. And the other portion is with Hedron. That's going to correct closer to 50-50 over time. I don't know if that time is in the next 27 seconds or in the next 3 or 4 months, but it will correct over time. But that means, you see how on the other side, it was more people are selling Hex than buying Hex? Mm-hmm. I mean, in the, maybe that's the wrong way of putting it, in the pool, right? Because like it's nuanced. It's not saying that like the price is going to go down, but there's more people willing to sell their Hex at a certain price. That's how it's like set up for V3 versus V2. There's only a small portion of people willing to sell their Hedron, right? That's why it's 71-29 versus the Hex one is 41-59 in terms of the ratios, and it's flip-flopped, right? There's more Hex on the market to sell than there is Hedron. Hedron, there's 29% to sell. Hex, there's 59% to sell. Did I lose you on this stuff?
I can't read the numbers from here, so they're small enough on the screen that I can't read those numbers. So I'm just trying to go off of what you're telling me.
Okay, maybe this will. I
think the viewers are going to have a different view because I've got like half a screen.
Yeah. Is this a little bit better? It's probably still hard to see, but $200,000 of liquidity for this pair, and then if you scroll down over here, it says 145,000.
I don't have that at all on my screen.
Oh, okay. If you go to Deck Screener, you'll be able to see it up. Oh, that's why you didn't fucking see it on your screen.
Oh, yeah, now I can read it.
203. That's why nobody else can read it. And 145,000. This information that I just shared is not available on V2, and V2 is where most of that 300 million people actually reside. So like most people don't have any clue what I just shared with you. Now you can have these glasses that allow you to see further into the night. Who gets to drive faster in that scenario? Through the forest, without clouds, without streetlights, without headlamps. Me, because I have a flashlight now, or you that doesn't have dick, right? I have headlamps on my car. I get to drive faster.
Right.
Here's a Here's another person, RH Max. This is a good dude. I think you would like him because he's a little bit more technical in terms of some of his stuff. Thanks for sharing that. Look into Hex with Gerardo. I think that's a channel. I think the guy's name is Gerardo, and I think his channel is called Look into Hex. Oh, good. There's some other ones. Cultivate Crypto. Oh, this is a good dude. I've talked to this dude multiple times. Cryptographics. He's got a lot of good videos out there. Not that I watch other people's content, but he seems like a very smart man when I talk to him. So,
okay. Thank you, guys.
Yes, Funding Jim is another dude too. But
this is another list of YouTubers you should compile and have some.
Oh yeah, I bet if you get onto Twitter, I bet there's a lot of people that would be happy to share. Like, I see them because sometimes people will tag me in them. They're like, here are the top people to fucking look into this community, or whatever the case is, and they'll tag me and like a bunch of other people in there. But I bet, hey guys, what are some websites? What's up, Chad? Chad Downish Watch. Chad is probably somebody you can talk to too about like bodybuilding type shit. Hey, what are some websites that you guys use besides Deck Screener? I'm curious to see. Oh, Just Ask Jesse. That's a good one. Right here. He's on Twitter. He founded 2 of the projects that are coming out. And he's on like the founding board of them or whatever, but he's also very, very deep into crypto, loves crypto. And I'd follow him on Twitter, and then just like, that way you can curate your feed to like the people that you want to actually pay attention. I like his shit too. Talked to him many times. Very good guy, smart guy. Go over it and see it again. The data in there. Frank, I did a much, much, much deeper dive on this yesterday or 2 days ago. If you click on my channel and you go back, like Liquidity Explained, it's about an hour long, and I get into it, and I get into a really big example on there. For example, Hedron ETH, let's say price 5 and LP range. I wouldn't set it on either side of the market personally, but you'd make more money. Does this make sense to you, what they're saying?
I think that's what you were showing me a couple of weeks ago, where you're talking about putting your money into the pool.
Yeah, so we only have a couple minutes left because I know you got to run. So let's touch on LP piece of it real quick here. So you remember me showing you this potentially?
Yeah.
So this is the calculator. It's uniswap.fish, which is the one that I use the most. And I'm picking this pair. And then this is the most commonly grouped pair between these two right here, meaning almost all the liquidity is in this fee range. I'll earn 0.3%. So now if you look at this, and you know how I was just talking about how 50% of the market is on one side and 50% of the market is on the other side when we looked at the data? Check this out. This is live data. Does that look like about 50% on one side and about 50% on the other side?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that I'm like trying to say something that's not true. You can go look at the real data and it's actually out there. Mm-hmm. Okay. So for here, this is cool. I like this. So let's do something like $10,000. If you have this range, you see this blue line all the way all across the bottom here? Mm-hmm. That's like V2. That means you spread your money all the way over here. It's just super, super thin, but you only make money where the pink line is.
Okay.
So you only make money there. Now, when you have V3, you could to choose the range you put your shit in, right? So watch this number right here and the green lines. I'm going to bring these green lines closer together, and you can go through here and provide very close range. So on $10,000, you make about $90 every 24 hours. Think about that. Think about that. It's stupid. It's absolutely, it's insane. It's insane, right? Like, it's absolutely insane. Sam, how would you read that chart from left to right? Oh, it's inverse the reality, or it's inverse like how Uniswap sees it. So if you actually go to the Uniswap site, this is inverse. So this, if you go here, if you guys can still see this way here is Hex going up in value. this direction. And then going this way, Hex is going down in value. Because all this is showing here is people's choices on where they want to provide liquidity based upon their fees that they're going to be able to earn. So you can go through and I'm not saying that staking Hex is bad. I think it's awesome. I have staked Hex, but you can earn higher than 38% by providing liquidity, right?
Right. Yeah.
But you do have to slightly pay attention to it, kind of thing. And you can do it both ways. So like there's many different ways you can do all this kind of stuff. You can also stake in the Icosa contract. So you could take your Hedron, you could stake that in the Icosa contract, because if you're just like, okay, cool, I'm going to sit on this for 90 days, right? I think that what's going to happen, I'm going to have at least 1 to 2 more doubles before the price peters out. I would expect, unless something crazy happens before the end of the year, at least I think 1 more zero is going to drop away. I think we're going to be at 4 zeros and something. I don't know what it's going to be, but at least, we're at 5 zeros and a 4. I think we're going to be somewhere in that range where it's one less zero. So that's 2 or 3 or 4 X's. Cool. Then that's what's going to happen. So if you were like, that sounds about right. Like, I'm okay with that. It's only this much, right? You can take that Hedron and you can stake it in Icosa, and you earn Icosa. Because if you're just going to sit on it anyway, you could put it into this protocol, and then you get to earn Icosa through this process. And you're like, okay, I'm going to do it for 90 days. That puts me at roughly the end of the year. Right? And then during this next 90 days, your shit's staked. So you're actually earning something on it. I have a bunch of mine. Yes, Uniswap.fish. What question? We have a couple minutes left. What questions? What did I not touch on? I know I fucking just kept talking. So
no, that was good. I was going to ask a whole bunch of like basic questions for people who, never gotten into crypto before, but you covered everything that I was wanting to ask, actually.
If somebody wanted to reach out to you or touch base with you, you want to tell them how to do that?
Yeah, so I'm on YouTube as Dadbod 2.0 and on Instagram as Dadbod2Fit, and I focus on men's fitness. So this is completely out of my demographic for topics here, but it's definitely something I want to learn.
So tell people real quick, like a elevator pitch of the type of viewer that is like going to be interested in your shit. Like Chad, who was in the chat earlier, that would be somebody who'd be interested in your shit probably. But talk to just real quick of who might be interested in your content.
So my focus is on guys that are middle-aged with kids, right? We all have jobs and families and stuff like that, and we have a limited time to work out and focus on diet. So I focus a lot on the supplementation, specifically stuff like SARMs and the other fringe products out there, peptides, etc., and how they can be beneficial. And, I don't suggest people experimenting on themselves, but I do it on myself and I share my experiences with my audience. And so a lot of my audience is in that demographic of guys who are wanting to optimize their physique in a healthy way, without going blown onto steroids or whatever, So I like to experiment with the fringe products and the biohacking kind of thing. So if you guys are interested in that, check it out.
Yes. Cool. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to be back again tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. EST time. So you guys could check it out over there. If you guys want to come over on Twitter, I'll probably be on Twitter later tonight. So you can check out the links down below. You should go check out Brian and Dadbod. He puts out very good quality content where it goes through and edits them. And mine, I'm umming in the videos and just talking nonstop throughout the videos because I don't want to spend the time editing them. So very good quality content, Brian. Appreciate you. And I'm gonna play a little outro. Hey, I appreciate everybody who came by and for the resources with Brian. He'll be on Twitter next time we chat.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Peace.
Young folks, you dripping on them motherfucker.
Rich your heart. Rich your heart.
Bought my Hex from the fucking start. .1 every day we mark. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Buy my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the hex, he is mooning. Looking at why they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out, gonna get me a check. He's gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. Hex I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Buy my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Buy my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now
Oops, I should have answered those questions real quick before Brian dropped off, and I just thought of that. Freeman, how would you read that chart from left to right? We got into that. Somebody was asking about LP. Here we go. For example, Hedron and ETH. Let's say price is 5, and you set up ranges of 3 to 7 and 1 to 10. Small range better for fees? Yes. The smaller the range, the more fees you're going to earn. Also, the more you're going to have to adjust your position, right? Because if you have a smaller range, the price can move outside of your range. So that's something that does happen. Does V3 sometimes show the buy and sell walls in the opposite direction? Yes, Stephen, yes, 100%. It flips them. So Uniswap.fish, it flips the distribution of liquidity if you're looking at the graph. So yes, that is accurate. Glad you're sharing your knowledge, man. Hey, appreciate you guys. Now I'm going to take us out of here. I want to touch on that. I'll talk to you guys soon. See you tomorrow, 11 a.m.